those of you leading fast casual brands, take note. The Fast Casual Executive Summit is happening October 4th through the 6th in Arlington, Texas. Save 20% when you register at fastcasualsummit.com with the code podcast. Welcome to the Restaurant Operator Podcast. I'm Mandy Detwiler, editor of QSRweb and Pizza Marketplace, and I'm here today with David Youngberg, CEO of Stonefire Grill out of Southern California. The company has 12 fast casual restaurants. David, thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure.
Well, let's get into kind of the nitty-gritty of Stonefire. You've spent over 3 decades in high-volume, growth-oriented restaurant concepts. Looking back, what is the one core belief about leadership you held 30 years ago that you've completely discarded today?
Oh, wow. What have I discarded today? I guess I'm a people person. And so there was this thought in leadership that, there are certain roles that people play. And I think there's this, I think what I've learned is, I don't know that I've jettisoned it, but I've had to morph my abilities. If I go back 30 years to how I was managed and the expectation of management, the expectation of doing something, and I'm a Gen Xer, right? And then we've gone through millennials and Gen Zers and Gen Alphas now. And I think the piece is that I've had to change my way of understanding and the way I work, because just because I worked one way in the past, that does not compute to the workers of today. I've had to change my leadership style. So I think maybe that piece of just thinking that you have to be the same leader all the way through. No, you have to be evolving. If you don't evolve, you will never connect with the generations, and there's so much that you'll miss along the way.
I think you're exactly right about evolution, for sure. You stepped into the CEO role at Stonefire Grill in 2023. What was your immediate priority during those first, let's say, 90 days, 2 months, to ensure you honored the brand's history while steering it toward future growth?
To learn. I remember telling the private equity group that they asked me what my first 90 days looked like, and I said training in the restaurants. And they kind of had a perplexed look about themselves of, wait, wouldn't you want to dig into the numbers and dig into those things? And I said, the only way that I can understand the brand is by working in the brand. How can I lead? How can I teach? How can I do the things that we need to do to move the brand forward, unless I'm side by side with people, understanding how we prep, how we cook, what are the policies? What are the procedures? What are our line recipes? What is the culture in the restaurant on a day-to-day basis? And the beautiful part was I didn't really know anybody in the restaurant, right? So they had me train, and in the 2 restaurants that I trained in, they didn't tell the team members who I was. They just told me they just told them I was training in the restaurant. So most of them didn't look at me as the CEO. They looked at me as maybe a manager coming in. So I had the ability to really work with the managers knew who I was, but the team members didn't all. So I was able to prep food. I still, hilarious story. I remember working in the one restaurant, and our signature dessert is our carrot cake. It is, in my estimation, the best carrot cake you could ever eat. I've tried thousands of them now at this point. I can't find one that's better, and I am a little partial to ours because of that. But nevertheless, I had to learn how to make this. And so the prep cook had told me, hey, this is what I want. Here's the cream cheese and the whipped cream and everything to make the frosting. And I need you to bake the cakes, and here's exactly how you do it. And she had gone to do something else. I think she was going on her break, and she goes, I need you to make sure that you have these things done by the time I get back. And the kitchen manager had pulled me away to do something else. And I'm like, hey, I don't want to get in trouble for not doing the cakes. And when she came back, I hadn't finished them. And she said, well, see, I asked you to do it. This is, she was very stern about the fact that we have a timeline on things. So I recognized immediately that procedurally there were things that got done and had to get done in a certain way. And I liked it. It was like a system. Like when I was 15 and a half, my first job was at McDonald's. And I didn't recognize it until later on in my career that the systems that I got taught, this is exactly how you flip a burger. This is exactly how you put ketchup, how much ketchup goes on a bun, how much mustard, how many pickles, how they get assembled, everything. And everything had a place and everything was in its place. And what I learned as I grew in the business was that was so important, having a system, no matter what the system is, as long as there's a system to get things done and it carries people forward. And so that was really my start in the first 90 days, was understanding the brand. I met with the founder of the brand because I wanted to make sure that look, I'm carrying forward her traditions, her family's recipes, legacies, everything that grew Stonefire from a single restaurant in Valencia all the way to, 12 Stonefires. And we have one other restaurant called Rattlers, which is a full service restaurant that we have in our brand as well. But it was really to understand the brand and to understand everything about it. And that really helped me. Then once I started digging into how do we move forward, I understood the nuts and bolts of how the restaurant was built.
Good. I think that's smart. I think that's really smart. In an increasingly tech-driven industry, you maintain that hospitality and emotional connections still matter the most. How do you keep this human touch alive when digital ordering and automation are trying to take center stage?
As I'm sure you've heard, and I've heard on your podcast before, AI is really kind of becoming so prevalent in what we do and how we do things. And I believe that that's helping us. I believe that the AI technology and with the digital space is helping us to connect better with our guests, because there are some systems that can take place from an AI perspective that allow us to go do our jobs in the restaurant and talk to guests and get guests in. I think that we spend a lot of time analyzing the way our guests behave. And when I came on board, there was a premise of commerce for all. And it was, look, we want our guests to come in and use us in any way that they want to use us. They want to walk in and walk up to a register and have someone say, "Hi, welcome to Stonefire. Can I take your order?" Like, we want that. If that's what you want, boom, we're there for you. But it's also, look, we have to have a functional app. We need to have a functional website. We need to have easeability in those for people to navigate through. We're now testing kiosks in our restaurants because, look, if someone doesn't want to wait in line and they don't order online and they don't order through an app, then maybe when they walk in, they want to order through a kiosk. It's not because we're taking away the service in the restaurant. We're not removing bodies in order to put kiosks in. We're putting kiosks in as another option for our guests to use us. So from my perspective, I think that in Stonefire's perspective, we want our guests to use us however they see fit. So if that is comforting to them, whether it's digitally or whether it's walking up to the register, then we want you to be comfortable in that. And I think we impart our messages, our happy to serve behaviors, and in a lot of like the things that you'll find online if you go to place an order, we have it suggest, would you like to add some breadsticks? We're also using some AI technology that might prompt the guest to say, the last time you ordered, this is what you ordered. Would you like to repeat that order?
Okay.
And so we're doing everything we can to really make it easy and simple for the guest. But at the same time, when you walk into our restaurant to pick up the order, whether it's curbside, whether it's takeout, whether, if it's third-party delivery, we're trying to have, everything in the bag and just do everything possible so that the guest knows that we're there for them.
Everyone in the hospitality industry says they have a people-first culture, but it always doesn't translate to the front line. How do you ensure your culture actually drives measurable performance at the restaurant level?
People come first. When I came on Stonefire, I met Lisa, who was in charge of our HR, and said, I love the fact that, you use the term people first. And she says, well, we have to do a better job of living it. And I would say even today we need to, and we've made, a lot of changes and a lot of advancements towards our people. Years and years ago, I read Charles Schultz's book from Starbucks, and he made a reference to, we're not in the coffee business, we're in the people business. And when I was at my last restaurant company, BJ's, I had got up in front of the general managers conference and said, we're not in the food service business serving people, we're in the people business serving food. Okay. And I picked that up and really just decided that is my mantra moving forward. That is I'm going to say it every day. I'm going to say it every time I'm with people, that we're in the people business. And as long as you make that a priority and do that, then people do come first. But it is something you have to push and you have to drive. some of the things that we've done at Stonefire is when I got here, we did town halls. So I took the entire leadership team and we went and visited every single restaurant and sat down with the team members, invited every single team member, every single manager to sit down. And our job was to shut our mouths and just listen. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? How can we be better for you? How can we show up better for you? How can we be, more present, more inclusive, more transparent, all these things. And we wrote our next year's strategic initiatives based on our town halls, because there was so much, and there was menu innovation, there was behavioral changes, there were schedule things that their team members wanted, there were benefits, there were all types of things that we made these huge long lists and said, we don't really even need to do anything different. If we just do this, it's going to benefit our people. If we benefit our people are going to work harder for our guests, and they're going to, you put smiles on team members' faces. Team members put smiles on guest faces. You put a frown on a team member's face, it's going to be really hard for them to go out and put a smile on for the guest. So take care of your team. And that really began the presence of what I believe is our true people first culture. And now we call it an EOC, which is an employer of choice. We want to be an employer of choice. We want people to come and work for us because they choose to come to work for us.
Awesome. Labor retention is a massive puzzle for restaurant operators right now. What specific career paths or growth opportunities have you created at Stonefire Grill to keep talent kind of engaged for the long haul?
Creating a career roadmap, that's the piece that for any business starting out, when I went to work for BJ's, there were 15 restaurants, and when I left, there was 217. So it took a long time to put a career roadmap in place. But at Stonefire, came in and really worked with the operations team, and the operations team was fully on board with, and so was human resources, we call it people and culture. We're ready to get going on a career roadmap. So and we hire teenagers, we hire high school students. A lot of them, it's their first job. The beautiful part is we have. The concept has been around for 25 years, but the original restaurant, Rattlers, has been around for 37 now. We have team members in our company that have been with Stonefire and with Rattlers for over 30 years. I think we have over 20 people that have spent their entire careers here. We have a director of operations who we recently promoted a year ago. He started as a team member. Our director of catering started as a 16, 17-year-old person at Stonefire. He's been with us 21 years now. So I believe there was already this culture there. But the one piece that we put together was saying, look, if you come to work for us as a team member and start out at a cashier level, what's the next step from there? How do we graduate you to takeout? How do you graduate to a shift lead, and then a senior shift lead, and then a manager, senior manager, assistant GM, general manager? Same thing with if you come in and you want to be a line cook. We create a career roadmap to get you to a lead line cook, and then a kitchen lead, and then a kitchen manager, and an executive kitchen manager. So it was creating that roadmap of even promotion qualification sheets of saying, here's what you need to do to get to the next level. And all you have to, complete this and we can get you to the next level. And there's objective things and there's subjective things, right? There's the piece where you have to be certified on all these stations, but you also need to be a good listener. You also need to be able to teach. You also need to be able to, to be amicable with your team and always in a learning environment. So there's tons of objectivity and subjectivity to those promotion qualification sheets, but it really takes the piece of rounding out the team members to the managers. And I think that's, our goal is to take 60% of our internal staff and get them into management. We feel that if we can keep that number rolling, then we really keep the culture alive because people stay with us.
So you're promoting from within?
Yes, 100%.
Awesome.
Like I said, 60% is our goal. We want 60% of our managers to be internal.
Awesome. Well, you've got 12 restaurants across Southern California. What is your secret weapon for consistency across the brand to make sure that when a customer eats at one restaurant in one town, it's the same as another restaurant in another town?
Making sure that you have a great operational set of people. We're small, right? We have 13 restaurants. So it's a vice president of operation. I've got 2 directors of operations, but I also have a director of culinary and kitchen operations. everybody spends time in the restaurants. The one thing, I'm talking to you from our restaurant support center, but that's what it is. We service the restaurants. It's not a home office. It's not a corporate office. It is a restaurant support center. So we're here to support the restaurants. So we spend a lot of time in the restaurants. Luckily, we're local, so we can spend a lot of time in the restaurants, eat in every restaurant. We're constantly evolving and innovating and looking at what we do. But we also have really good systems in place. And I think that's the piece of when I talk about systems, it's, the directors of operations go in and check to see if the prep is done right. We are mostly from scratch kitchen. There's a few items that we have made for us, but for the most part, all of our meat comes in and it is seasoned and it is cooked in the restaurant. All of our meat,
Wow.
all of our beef, all of our chicken, all of our sauces are made daily. All of our dressings are made daily. All of our lettuce is cut and chopped pretty much daily. Pretty much everything we do is from scratch. So the ability for our operators to be in the restaurants and really validating and verifying that everything that's happening is to spec, being able to do it at this size and scale really helps us to set the brand in place so we can now evolve it and get it moving to, growth.
You guys have a unique trifecta model of dine-in, takeout, and heavy catering. How do your kitchens balance the chaos of a busy Friday night dine-in rush while simultaneously pumping out massive catering orders?
Several of our restaurants are, and this is, pre-pandemic, the concept was, I would say 60% on-premise, 40% off-premise. So it still had a really large arm of off-premise. It was really how the company was built. And 20% of what we do is catering. So, overall, it's a big number. Post-pandemic, it became really 65-35, 65 off-premise, 35 on. But we have big restaurants. Most of our restaurants are between 5,000 and 7,000 square feet. So we have expansive dining rooms, really comfortable environment. And I call it a premium fast casual environment because you'll place your order up at the counter and then you go sit down. Someone will bring your food to you. Someone will refill your drinks for you. Someone will bring you plates and napkins. And we also we converted our point of sale system over to Toast. And when we did that, we also have handheld. So the people that are in the dining room that are helping to clear tables and to get things for guests, they also have a handheld with them. So if someone wants to order a carrot cake or if they want to order another beer or a glass of wine, they have a handheld on them and we can do it right there. They don't have to go back up to the counter to place that order.
That's nice.
So I think that's a big piece to it. But we also have several kitchens that have really two kitchens inside them. So our biggest, highest volume restaurants have a main kitchen that we take care of all of our food from. But we also have another kitchen in the back that has a charbroiler or a wood burning stove, and then it's got all the things that are needed, and we can assemble and take care of catering and even takeout in those secondary kitchens. So it's really a game changer for us, especially as I said, with 20% catering. We have restaurants that can do $70,000-$80,000 on a day, and 20,000 or 25,000 of that is catering, and it really helps having those bigger kitchens. We recently did our biggest catering event of the year. We basically feed about between 5,000 and 6,000 people. We do it in 45 minutes. It's a church that's up in Santa Clarita Valley. They're a great partner with us. They're called Grace Church, and we do this event for them every year, and it's incredible. But we basically assemble and make all that food in about 4 different restaurants and then have it delivered, set it all up, and then we feed, like this year we fed 5,700 people in 45 minutes.
That's incredible.
It's like, it's amazing. I'm so enamored and impressed by my team to sit and watch them execute this. It's really incredible.
Right. Stonefire Grill, famous for its family meal and shared dining concept, right?
Yes.
Why do you think this style of dining continues to deeply resonate with consumers today when so much of the industry is moving towards individualized grab-and-go portions?
We played with that. We test and innovate as much as we can, and we've played with grab and go. We have some grab and go coolers for beverages, and we've even played with some grab and go items. I don't necessarily think our guest sees it as that. And I don't, I would tell you that the concept was founded on gathering. Up on the wall it says gather. It's really, the founders saw it as when their family got together, they all sat around a table and shared a meal, and that's really how we put our menu together. And our menu has tons of shareable options and family meals. So we find that in my opinion, it's a niche out there for us, because I think I see a lot of concepts going to what we're doing now. They're offering family meals. They're looking for that kind of bundle package. We recently did a package for Easter and we said, hey, let's give our guests an easy item. So we put a package together that served 8 to 10 people, and it was really cost effective. I think it was like $12 a person. But we're talking fresh salads, we're talking fresh chicken, beef, pastas, like pizza, and it was basically, I think we sold, and again, we're a small concept, but we sold over 1,200 of them for Easter Sunday, and for people to just come in and pick up, and the guests loved it. Our feedback from our guests was like, thank you so much, because you made it easy for us. All we had to do is grab this package, and I was able to serve my family of 10. And that's, we have put together, there's a package at Stonefire called the stimulus package. And it was put together back in 2008 during the 2008 recession as being kind of an economy package that you could feed a family of 4. And it's 2026, and it's still one of our biggest selling packages. We featured it for the past few months at a slight discount, and we're selling 3,000 of them a week. People love it. They just are really familiar with the stimulus package. But we put together like a family 4-pack that has more food and is a little more robust for, really, we say it's for 4 people, but you could really easily serve 6 people out of it. But packages seem to be something that really works for us, and I know it's working for others, because I look at like Habit Burger putting together their 4-pack of burgers, or I think El Pollo Loco has always been famous for shareable kind of family meals. So it's just, I think it's definitely something that we're good at, and we're going to keep driving it.
If you could give a piece of advice to a restaurant operator who dreams of being the next great regional fast casual franchise, what would you tell them?
Listen to your guests, understand what's going on in the industry, and cater to what people want. And I think that's we switched over to Ovation, which is a guest comment platform, and it was a game changer for us. I mean, Mandy, we used to get about 600 to 800 comments or surveys a month. We're getting 9,000 surveys. We have a 28x increase in our guest participation and awareness and surveys to us. And it's a little overwhelming, but at the same time, all we do is get guest feedback from our guests. We and our people are seeing and reading everything. I mean, on your phone, the first weekend we went live in 4 restaurants, and I was sitting on the couch, and my phone was just dinging and dinging and dinging. And my wife said, what is going on with your phone right now? And I said, these are all guest comments coming in. And I spent the whole night reading every single guest comment. And we have the ability to interact with these guests. And the amazing thing that Ovation allowed us to do is we interact with our guests immediately. As a company, 13 restaurants all on it, we have an average response time of less than 3 hours. So meaning if a guest has a compliment or a complaint, they're being responded to in less than 3 hours. We even had guests that were being responded to within 15 minutes, because there are tablets in the restaurant that managers can see the guest comments coming in and go, oh my God, we forgot their extra barbecue sauce. And they're, saying to them, hey, we can put that in a van and drive it right over to you. Or if you'd like to come back, when you pick up your barbecue sauce, we'll throw in a dozen breadsticks or a piece of carrot cake. I mean, it was amazing how you could interact with your guests. So I think that's the piece, is you have to be able to identify what your guests are looking for. And you really have to play. I mean, you got to play to your favorites. You got to do what you do best. But I think at times concepts say, this is what we're about, and we're going to do this. And I think that's okay, as long as your guests are agreeing with you. If your guests are telling you different, you got to be able to pivot. You got to be able to say, hey, this is what they're looking for. Let's figure out how to do it for them.
Well, we are out of time. Thank you so much for being with us today. This has been so fun.
Oh, thanks, Mandy. Yeah, this is great.
That'll do it for this episode of the Restaurant Operator Podcast, and we'll catch you next time.